Welcome to the Dragon's Tome, issue 17 of Dragon Magazine. It is August 1978. Feels like just yesterday. I'm Rob.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Chopper.
And Dragon Magazine from August 78. And we got a wacky cover. We got, I called it Ziggy Stardust versus...
Ziggy Stardust. It's the Black Chariot, isn't it? You know what? I'm looking at the wrong magazine.
Oh,
yes. So
no,
we are
issue 17.
Yeah, issue 17. Sorry.
17. The one with the halfling on the front, on the back of a chariot with the guy with the spear?
That's 16.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Let me check. Yes, this is an iconic cover. I remember this one. I wouldn't say that it's the best cover ever, but definitely it's got a 70s vibe. It spurs the imagination.
We're really starting to hit the Vallejo stride here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had that guy with the winged helmet. I'm pretty sure I had that miniature.
I think that winged helmet becomes almost a mainstay of miniatures and artwork and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, he definitely comes in the Hero Quest box game that Milton Brad put out.
Yeah, and that was after this, right?
Yeah.
So this might be the origin of the winged helmet.
We got the lead singer of some band down here in a force field.
That's Ziggy Stardust.
I thought Ziggy Stardust was the girl with the weird bikini.
It could be. Yeah, it's true.
that is possible. I was getting Zardoz vibes from the guy in the force field, but
yeah, that's true. It doesn't say who the artist is. They don't. For some reason, they stopped crediting the artists. So we just have like a squiggle down there. But
yeah, I was gonna say whoever scanned it must have cut the signature off. But
they used to tell us in the credits who it was.
Oh yeah,
and they don't anymore. So, So we'll move down. I'll start because Dragon Rumbles. This one's a quick one. They just have a demand for more article writers because they have a lot more pages to fill, and they're running out of space. It's really short. This is the only short one. Wait till the next couple issues. There's going to be some long ones. Nothing big on the Dragon Rumbles. So we'll move right into articles. We'll start with Jack. Jack, what articles tickled your fancy in this issue?
That would make them an article. Okay, see what I did there?
You did.
Okay, for magazine, this issue, if we could go to page 18 and 19 of the magazine, which in the PDF I have happens to be page 2021. If we could scamper on down to there. I know
he clicks a lot over there.
Wow.
Oh, sorry.
He only got one monitor. Now he's like a caveman trying to make a wheel.
Why'd you make us go to this black page with nothing on it, Jack?
I'm in the struggle bus with my new setup right now, my temporary setup.
I just want to say that this is one of many of the Fantasy Forge ads. This one's a centerfold with a fully black background, the half-toned pictures, which are meant to, and this will be interesting to people in the printing biz only, or maybe magazines and whatever. Halftones were a way to make use up less ink on a picture, so it wouldn't be necessarily solid. So they did halftones on a black background, and I cannot, for the life of me, I can tell which ones are supposed to be spaceships.
I feel like we took a step backwards with the Fantasy Forge.
Yeah.
And I don't want to alarm you. We've already showcased Fantasy Forge before. I think this is the most egregious of the, and I've looked a couple episodes ahead, a couple issues ahead, and this one might not be the most egregious, but this is the one I'm going to showcase as...
it's pretty bad.
This is... Again, I don't know if it's just the scans. I don't know if it's just...
A lot of other things in the issue look good. This looks terrible.
I think it's got to be a little bit of everything. I think it's got to be what you say and how the scans turn themselves out. Like, it wasn't good enough to scan very well.
Yeah.
but it's the centerfold of the magazine, so they must have paid a pretty penny to get.
It's not an ad. It's an article.
Well,
it's all different companies. It's Rob Partha, McEwen, Archive.
Grenadier's in there.
That's why I didn't bring it up during the ads section. It is an article.
Yeah.
But I felt I don't know, the chutzpah to say it is actually just an ad.
I think
so. That is my choice to my opening salvo in this edition of the Dragon.
Like, I think I've had some of these miniatures if I could see them clearly.
It's hard to tell. I think it's a guy on a lizard or something with a lance. That looks kind of cool. It's hard to tell.
It is.
And yeah, even the spaceships look like guns. Like, it doesn't look clear very. Anyways, Pat, what's your first one?
My first one is it is to page 7.
Of course, we have to go all the way back up.
Wow, quaint.
Listen to the clicking.
Page 7 is an ad.
Page 7 of the scan or page 7 of the magazine? Because it could be Dragon Lord.
I took it off of...
Maybe don't tell me the page, just tell me the article name.
It was the dungeon one.
Dungeon?
I took it off your notes. Where's the table of contents?
There is no page 7 in the notes. Are you on the wrong thing again?
I hope not.
Patrick.
I think he's on the wrong issue.
No, I'm on the right issue. 17, right?
7, you said.
17.
Jack, you said 7, right?
He said page 7.
Thank you.
Teen. I said teen.
There was no teen. It was right below. Like, I didn't have to scroll because it was right there. Which one? The monk and the bard in the dungeon?
Or
yes.
Okay.
So around this time, we're playing D&D with the box, the basic set, and then they come out with a little board game called Dungeon, which was like a scaled down version of it's not real role playing. It's like you just took the basics of everything. You play an elf, you play a thief, you play a wizard, and then you went out and there were 6 levels to the dungeon if you ever played the game. I'll give you a recap of the game. 6 levels, and the further down, the bigger the monsters you had to fight, and whoever was able to get back to the start with the most amount of treasure wins. The downside of that is there was only 4 characters to play. I can't remember. I think it was elf, thief, wizard, and fighter. What this article is they added, some guy made up his own 2 new characters called the Monk and the Bard, which I thought was really cool. And had I known about this article and this thing, I would have definitely added this to our dungeon games because, first of all, you can make it 6 players now instead of 4. And, here, it tells you right here. Hero, elf, dwarf, and... Hobbit. Oh, no, that's something else. Yeah.
No, that's it. Hero, elf, dwarf, and hobbit. Yeah. Well, they probably had to change the hobbit to something else and after they got
halfling. And then there's a wizard, a superhero, a cleric, and a thief.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a nice little take on people just kind of adding their little homegrown things into a little board game like we always do. Adding more classes because AD&D I think is out now at this point, right? The player's handbook's out, so now you have the monk.
In the ads, we'll get to that, but yeah.
Yeah. You have the monk and you have the bard as a player class in the player's handbook. So I thought it was a nice little, what's the word I'm looking for? Choice to just, a little choice to add these to an otherwise simple board game for D&D, Dungeon always was always a nice little game to mess around with when you didn't have everyone to play a D&D game with and you just wanted to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons in a sense. So they since reissued the game a couple times. I have the original set still, which is Yeah, so this is my article. I enjoyed this little article quite a bit, actually.
Excellent. Well, my article is right on page 16, which is the one right above it. And that's the Magic Munchkin Scholar and, it's Castian, but we'll get to that one. Somebody added more beasties to D&D, but pretty much they're very angry people. That's all I'm saying. Michael Kowalski here he's an angry man. Munchkins are like another way to screw the party, and they're pretty much little annoying things that you can't get rid of that just annoy people. I would never want this guy to DM me because
it's just permanent pets.
Very annoying. And like
done properly, it could be a nice, diversion. It could, done properly, you could make something like this, a lovable scamp.
Yeah, he could turn around. So one thing when I read this article, I just kept thinking how DMing has changed from the 70s to now, where it was here how best to screw the party over.
That's what it was, yep.
And this is just indicative of all that. So,
yeah,
you don't know what it's like to play a game of D&D in the 70s when you had to fight the Dungeon Master all the time.
Yeah, we'll get to that, I think, in a future issue also. It's just crazy. Next one is The Scholar by Patricia Lapointe, who's obviously a university student who has issues with her professors, because this is someone who really hates the profession of being a professor, because, yeah, it's pretty harsh. And I like some of the spells, like... I
like how they're just short, bearded men.
Yeah, and there one's like surprise quiz spell, and which is a powered stun, and there's like confusion and read obscure languages are known by the instructors. Yeah, somebody's having issues with her college. And the last one is the one that's really, I was like, wow, this guy was touched by a priest, because it's the Christian, but it's Christian, but it's spelled really funny.
I was trying to figure out how to say that, and then because I didn't get too far into it, because it literally just the part that turned me off on it was our incurable Empire of the Petal Throne players.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Yeah. But this guy, he's really just makes Christians out to be super annoying and evil, and he's very atheistic.
Well, that's because the Christians are out to destroy D&D. You are a devil worshiper.
That was my question too. Had the Satanic Panic hit enough? Like,
I don't think it had yet.
Not yet. I don't think that really happens till the 80s.
80s, yeah.
Well, because strike.
In another one, they talk about how there's like Nazi connotations to some people are criticizing D&D and stuff, which is odd. That's another issue. We'll get to that too. But this person has an issue with Christians, which, hey, to each their own, but you have to make a creature about it. But
so you're saying that back then, thankfully, we've grown out of it, that you could just, anyone you disagreed with, you could just call a Nazi?
Well, maybe. That's coming up, Jack. You're jumping ahead.
Okay, yes, let's not...
This is anybody you disagree with, you just call them a Christian, it seems. Yeah, they're unstoppable fanatics in this. That's what the thing is. And they have a book of eternal existence, which it bores you to death, I think, is pretty much part of it. So
it makes for very dry reading for all but the most devoted.
Yeah. Anyways, I just was like shocked that they actually put this in there. But Jack, what's your next one?
Okay, we're going to go to page 37 of the magazine here, which would be 39 for the PDF. And no, did I take yours?
No.
Then why that was kind of a...
nostalgic.
Oh, okay. So what it is an ad for Gamma World. It says this is Gamma World. It's got a delightful poster. It's, a post-apocalyptic scene in the background. In the foreground, you have some, I'd say 50s style astronauts with the ray guns and the whole bit. That's a nice picture. And it says it is closer than you think. And come to the TSR booth to get a full color version of this poster. And this, I think, is the first indication of Gamma World. We've, over the last, we've been doing this for quite some time now, but the Gamma World has popped up as, hey, guys, what about Gamma World? But we've never seen any mention of it. So
the actual product's coming out. Yeah.
The product is out already at around this time because they talk about it being released at Origins of 78.
Well, next issue is the Origins recap. So this is right around Origins when this one came out. So that's the booth they're talking about to come and visit them, is the Origins booth. So
right. So this is it, boys. This is Gamma World.
Yeah, we're getting into the time where it's games that we actually recognize. None of this Petal Throne stuff or
Metamorphosis Alpha.
Yeah, or what's the other one, Imperium and stuff like that. They're getting into games that we actually know. So should be interesting. I think it's coming into the beginning of the big times for TSR especially. Yeah. But also look at Chaosium stuff's popping up. Like, is it in this issue? The Chaosium has no, I think it's the next issue. There's a Chaosium ad that has a lot of famous stuff in it. Yeah. So that's Gamma World's coming.
It's coming.
Pat, what's your next one?
It's page 22.
Stop telling me page numbers.
We're going to tell you. We're going to tell you page numbers so that everyone can follow along at home.
Your page numbers are actually the magazine page numbers. Pat's are just random numbers.
I'm telling you the actual magazine page numbers, not the PDF page numbers.
Okay, what's page 20?
I can understand that because
I took my page numbers from your your briefing that you sent us.
I thought you were going to be talking about Tesseracts, but instead you're talking about Ogre.
I'm talking about Ogre.
Okay. Which 100% is on that tracks. That's on point.
Yeah,
I assumed you'd be talking about this one.
Yeah, again, I liked this game back in the day. I still like it now, and I wish again I had known this was an article back in the day, because it's a breakdown of the Ogre pieces and their strengths and their weaknesses and how to use them, and it's a nice little tactical cheat sheet for anyone looking to start play Ogre. And
does it still apply today? That's the question. It might be still useful.
Because, again, so I found out that there is a playable Ogre on Steam. So I, of course, downloaded it and was playing around with it, and using the old tactics like I used back in the day when I used to play it. And then I read this article. I'm thinking, you know what? Everything that they're talking about here is kind of still how I play and use these units. I mean, the difference is that these are chits and not little models and stuff at the point like that. So, I mean, it breaks down all the pieces, even the expansions like the GEV, the ground effect vehicles, which are kind of like hit and run vehicles. They get to move, you can shoot, and then at the end of the turn, they can move away. So they're actually very, they're easy to destroy, but they're very, very mobile.
Hovercrafts? Is that there?
Yeah.
Cool.
Ground effect vehicles, and then talks about infantry, the howitzers. The howitzers are the big guns that sit around and they just drop bombs. But yeah, it's if you find Ogre a bit intimidating, which you shouldn't because it's very simple, but you just don't know what, because there's some scenarios where you could actually make your own army, and so if you have an idea of what you want to do, this little piece-by-piece breakdown is a nice little handy-dandy tool.
A little primer, if you wanted to look at it, or a refresher if you already know.
Yeah. So I'm going to put this out there. I was thinking about getting it, but I have the big box and I don't really need it. I need this. I need to restrain myself. So in the Chicago board game trading post on Facebook, someone was giving away the original Ogre in a plastic bag with the counters for free. And I was like,
take it.
Huh? Because it's like a 40-minute drive north. And I have the big box, so I don't know why I would want to, why would I play the little 6x8 or 4x8 pamphlet?
The horde is calling. It's you put it in a place of power.
I know. You would think I would be all over that, right? But I'm kind of holding myself back. It's bad enough I bought that Star Empires.
Yeah.
For slightly more than $9.
Yeah, so for more than $9.95. And this was free. So you would thought I would have. But don't get me wrong.
If it cost you $100, you would have bought it.
Well, don't get me wrong. One of these days I might be like, oh, I'm heading that direction. Let me just message that person. Hey, is this Ogre still available? Because I'll come by and pick it up right now.
Ogre. My next one will be on page 15. And it's actually... I picked it because it's as always, it's we love our tables. This is a table. Sure. But it's sights and sounds in Dungeons and Dragons. It's pretty much rolling for random noises in dungeons, which I love the fact that they'll just put a table of anything in here. But it's also kind of fun to think, I just need a random noise. I'm just going to roll on a D20. What's the noise?
I agree with you that they're like me. They just love the tables. And funny enough, I feel like some of these tables are slightly useful.
If you wanted to, add a little life or confusion or something, they give instances in which you would want to use this table.
And if you're brand new to like 5e, if you're listening to the show and you're brand new to 5e, these are nice little things to spruce up your game as a brand new dungeon master, I think. These are little tips that you could do. Yeah.
It's not so dry when all of a sudden, you hear chains rattling.
Yeah.
Is that something we should go investigate? Oh, you try to investigate it, but you can't tell where it's coming from.
Yeah. These actually excel more better. These probably excel better when you're sitting around a table. Like if you're using like Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 when you can actually add sound bites.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely you're just sitting around.
Yeah.
You could, I guess you could use it there too, but yeah, nowadays it's more interactive, I guess. You just actually have the sounds, but
yeah. If you're playing a scaled down game, sometimes you don't want to lug around your laptop and then click play on your Winamp.
Winamp. It does whip the llama's ass.
It does.
It's kind of fun, but that was mine. It's another table. Jack, do you have any more?
If we're going on to ads, I'm prepared.
Sure.
But if
okay, Pat, before you go to ads, Pat, do you have any more?
I do have one more.
Sure. We'll jump to his article, and then we'll do ads.
And ironically, it's the other article that you said. It's not going to be this one, is it? And it's on page 20.
The Tesseract?
Yes.
It was so confusing. I was like, I refuse to read this.
Well, it wasn't. So that's funny enough you say that. So I powered through it, and I read it, and, basically what it comes down to, it's like a dungeon trap of inescapable rooms. And it seemed very complex at first, but then it actually turns out to be very simple. When you think about it as a cube that you opened, and then each room connects it in kind of a warp kind of sense. And they lay it out like an upside-down cross and shows how it connects if you were to play it in a 2D dimension kind of way. In the diagram, you see the diagram. The C is the bottom of the cube, and then the north, east, south, and west are the sides, and the F is the top of the cube.
Did the person who made the movie Cube read this article?
Which one? Do
you ever see the movie Cube?
It's a Canadian classic.
It's a Canadian classic.
Yeah, they're in a Tesseract, pretty much. They're stuck, and every time they go into a new room, there's another way to kill them.
Yeah, so...
If you haven't seen Cube, stop watching this. Go watch it. One of the Daxes is in it. It's before all of them were big, but there's quite a few actors you'll go, oh my God, that's a baby version of people from Stargate, from Star Trek, for any of the Canadian sci-fi, because, through 1990s, 2000s, Canada was like the sci-fi, the powerhouse. And this was from early 90s.
Yeah, I would think so.
And,
anyways, I think they read this
I'm
article because that's what it's about.
Yeah, and in a 2D set, you can play it like teleporting rooms, but if you're playing a 3D set like it's in the cube, then you can actually have them come through a door, and then they're actually in the roof of another room, and then they fall to the floor of that room.
It's called the movie Cube. Watch the movie Cube.
So that's basically what it runs down to. So I would play it in a 2D kind of sense because the 3D would be a little too hard to explain in a sense. But as you said, it was a little hard to get through the article itself. But once you did and you kind of figured it out, you just realized, oh, that's really simple.
Well, you should have just said it's based on the movie Cube.
Yeah, then it would all run true for you.
Yep.
And when you do watch the movie Cube, and you all should, come correct. Don't smoke anything beforehand. You'll fall to pieces.
So that was my last article.
Let's go to ads then. Jack, you had an ad?
An ad for the movie Cube. It came out in
97, actually. We thought it was earlier, but it's 1997.
97.
I just looked it up.
A little later than I anticipated, but still, it was good. It was good. Okay, we're going to go to page 14, which of the magazine.
We think we know what that one is.
If you do, I don't believe we have seen. This is an ad for the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook, and it is available now. And it's got it says this is going to be one of the trio of books: the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the deities and demigods. And
no, I don't think it's the DM's Guide. I think it's just Player's Handbook, deities, demigods, and heroes, and Monster Manual.
You're right.
No, it's AD&D, is Monster Manual, Player's Handbook, and Dungeon Master's Guide. It says right in the ad. And then Gods, Demigods, and Heroes is coming out soon, which they haven't even called it deities and demigods yet.
I misspoke. I meant to say the trio and then say yes, and then Gods, Demigods, and Heroes is coming out afterwards. But the most important thing is that picture from the cover. That was a lot of people's first.
But that isn't from the cover. The cover is the little gnome stealing the eye from the idol.
But that picture is iconic.
But it's not from the cover. That's why I was amazed. I was like, that's not the cover. I have seen that picture many times, yeah.
I think that's the picture off the original.
No,
the original D&D one, the little pamphlet ones.
Maybe. But I was like, why didn't they show the cover of the actual Player's Handbook? Because I looked it up. I was like, that's not the cover. The cover is the gnome. And I was like, maybe there's different editions. And I looked and nope, that's the original Player's Handbook had the guy on the big, it was like a demon kind of statue, and he was stealing the gem from the eye.
We'd have to look at the original D&D.
Oh, I did.
Pamphlet ones.
Oh, the pamphlets, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is, like Jack said, this is an iconic image, but I was amazed that it's not the cover.
That for a lot of people is D&D, like that
the little
that picture right there.
On a D6.
On a D6, yeah.
Yeah. Should have made D20, but it's harder to sit on a D20, I guess.
Better than a D4, I would think, if we're actually going to be...
This is the second volume of the AD&D series, because the first was Monster Manual. A hardback reference, over 120 pages, including information for players and DMs on character class, races, statistics on level advancement, equipment, weapons, armor, spells, including over 30 new spells, and much more. Yep, and it's this is the beginning of AD&D as we know it and as we played it, because I'm pretty sure all of us started at AD&D, original AD&D.
I started with the basic.
No, I'm saying for D&D though, or AD&D.
Oh, yeah.
I played.
Oh, first edition before, big time, yeah.
But for AD&D, this was the beginning of real D&D, because really, red box, 3 classes, 3 alignments. Come on, you need the 9 alignments, many classes. This is it, and everybody wants to play a ranger. that comes later.
I was all about the monk.
Monks. So that's it, Jack. Good call. Pat, do you have any ads you want to talk about?
Let's go to, I don't know what this is. I think it's page 3. Or maybe
We'll
page 2.
out.
The
I think
GenCon?
it's page 2. Yeah. I'd just like to point out that since we talked about it in my article, the special event is the Dungeon Championship on Friday the 18th. Over $750 in prizes, 256 players playing Dungeon.
Yeah.
It's not good.
And then if you look down a little further, there will be a huge D&D tournament, DM, but under Gary Gygax and some guy named Bob Blake.
Yep. Beginners games, and then other tournaments for things, which actually is going to bring to mind. On page 26, it actually has a list of all the actual events. And I'm amazed. You see all the events, and it's by day, and D&D is very little of it. Mostly it's old strategy war games, and even backgammon and mahjong are there, and it's like, it's amazing how little, like, obviously we're getting, from Dragon, you're getting a lot more of the coverage of the D&D parts, but the actual Gen Con is not, D&D is very little of it, which is...
there's still there's still more a war game convention at this point.
Yeah, it's all about Dawn Patrol and things like that, like Africa campaign and things. It's pretty impressive that you think that we're so used to Gen Con being so RPG-centric that it's not at all at this point. It's RPGs are very backseat. And I couldn't believe that there's a backgammon and a mahjong tournaments. Like, I was like, oh, wow.
That's the thing.
I'm backgammon.
I went to Gen Con. Yes, I played mahjong.
Yeah.
I tore it up. Champion, yeah. What even kills me even more is it's $10 for a 4-day pre-register.
Yeah, that's
not the
same prices now. Yeah, we'll get more into Origins and Gen Con in the upcoming issues because there's a lot more coverage of it coming up. So
yeah.
Other than that, I think that's about it for this issue. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I actually thoroughly enjoyed this issue with even the funny, stupid monsters. They're just angry people, like you said.
A lot of angry players out there.
But there's actually some stuff that I found very useful, and I might steal.
Well, obviously, the Ogre thing was useful.
Yeah, I put a little checkmark to remember what issue it is.
Yeah, so you can use it. Just screen cap it. Yeah, so that has been Dragon issue 17. Come back next week for issue 18, and it gets a little rowdy. Yeah,
I think the next issue is the anger issue.
It's great. I've been Rob.
And I'm Jack.
And I've been Jobber.
We'll see you there.
Bye-bye.